The anxious excitement before battle, the Brisbane Lions about to hit the SCG. A talented young side with a big future, but putting it together for 4 quarters has been a problem. We welcome Dermot Brereton to the coverage. They're going to take on a fired-up, winless Sydney side today. Derm, we're looking forward to this one.
Oh, good afternoon, Anthony. Yeah, well, it's been a weekend of upsets. Just got a dream, just got a dare to dream. They bring in Jakey Barrett, who's a really hard, mongrelish type of midfielder, so they're looking to take it up to that Swans midfield of Kennedy and Parker and co. They really need to give it to them as best they can.
Well, probably their worst performance last week, Brisbane, so they'll be certainly fired up, but they were smashed by Port Adelaide right from the start, and Chris Fagan certainly won't want the same today. Let's hear what the coach has to say, and he's with Brian Lake.
Thanks, Hutto. Now the players have just gone out onto the field. You've come out of your meeting. What was the final message to the players?
Oh, it's been a pretty intense week this week, Al. After our performance last week, we thought our effort and our intensity wasn't at the level that it should have been, and that it has been for most of the season. So pretty much the whole week, and that meeting then was all around that theme, you know, contested ball, tackling, pressure, all the things that you need to bring when you play Sydney.
What do you do when you play Sydney? Do you scout what you've seen over the last couple of weeks, or do you go in preparing for the absolute best?
Oh, I think you prepare for their absolute best. I mean, Sydney haven't changed the way they play all that much over the last few years. They just do it better than everybody else. So no doubt that's been a focus of theirs this week, and likewise for us.
Massive out with Dane Beams with a quad injury. How do you try to cover his loss?
Oh, it probably means that Mitch Robinson has to play a little bit more in the midfield than he has been. He's been mostly playing up forward, so and other guys have to shoulder the load. It gives more opportunities for a Jarrah Berry to run through the midfield and a Hugh McCluggage, so positive from a development perspective.
They've got some stars all over the field, especially through the midfield, but what about Buddy Franklin? Hasn't had a super month. Who's going to go with him? What's the matchup there?
Oh, it just depends where he plays. If he plays, you know, in the goal square, then I think Harris Andrews will probably pick him up. If he plays a little bit higher, then Dan McStay will probably get the role. So that's how we'll operate it, and see how that goes.
No worries. Thanks for the insight. Best of luck.
Thanks, Al. Cheers.
So from the Lions to the Swans, and you couldn't get a better day to try and return to form. A heap of changes there. What do you think the main problem's been for Sydney? There's been a lot of theories thrown out there.
Well, my honest belief is they've been pretty competitive in most areas, but there's a lot of junior talent in. We see Florent come back in today, really talented kid, but what's happened in the opening 6 weeks is that a lot of these times when they've been in clutch moments, the ball's gone to an area where there's been a 2, a 3 or a 4 game veteran try and win the ball. We see Towers on screen, Isaac Heaney, Grandpa and Grandma are here today. They're wishing him his 21st for Friday, so he's got the full contingent here. The ball has kept going to young players in clutch moments, and they haven't been able to get the job done as much as they showed really good form.
Well, one man who needs the older guys to stand up and get it down to him is Buddy Franklin, and I reckon he's due today, Derm. He got in a bit of a few blues with the Blues last week. His nemesis in a way, Alex Silvani, was able to restrict him. I think he'd be fired up today.
Well, he played Silvani by taking him further up the ground, and that would relax Silvani a little bit, thinking, well, this is not super dangerous if he gets hold of it, and he played him very, very well. I've got a feeling today he's going to go up and look to hunt back a lot quicker than he did last weekend. We see the graph of his season so far. It's plotted with 2 4s in the opening rounds and only a 3 that stands out 2 weeks ago, and even that game wasn't a great game for him.
He's had between 15 and 22 disposals each week, so as you said, getting the footy hasn't been a problem. I reckon he'll hit the scoreboard a bit this afternoon. Well, John Longmire needs him to. It's been a big week. The pressure's building without a win so far, and here he is now with Brian Lake.
Thanks, Hutto. John, by your own admission, last week's game unacceptable. Would have reviewed it pretty hard this week.
Yeah, we did, and we need to make sure we get better at it this week. We need to be harder around the contest and be better, much more organised defensively.
Especially having a young side, you really need your leaders to stand up, and they probably haven't done that quite this year.
Yeah, it's obviously, you know, we're looking to our leaders to be able to be in the position to be able to show the young boys the way, and we haven't done it consistently this year. We've still got enormous faith in them to be able to do that and deliver that, but we need to get going with it, obviously.
Yeah. Late change, Aliir out, injury?
No, he turned up late for a training session yesterday, so we brought Harry Marsh in, who was an emergency, and he's gone back as an emergency.
No worries, John. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Well, that is stunning news. Just what Sydney didn't need. Aliir dropped for disciplinary reasons, but he's still being made to do the warm-up. We'll discuss that further after the break here at the SCG. A beautiful day for footy, and the opening bounce is next. emotion in the Brisbane box. Gone down by 83 points.
That's our poorest effort for the season in that regards. I'm not sure why it happened.
It's looking bleak for the Swannies, though. Bottom of the ladder, 0-6.
We haven't shown the consistently hard brand of football that we've been known for, and we haven't done that across the board.
In the journey to make a football team a better team again, sometimes you have these setbacks. You've just got to go away and take what we can learn from this game and be better.
We just aren't living up to our trademark football. We haven't had that hard edge. What's unacceptable? We're playing an unacceptable brand of football.
Sydney are hard to beat. They always give a contest. They'll be desperate, so it'll be good to see how we measure up.
Well, the Sydney faithful haven't given up hope, but no one would have expected they'd be winless as we head into round 7. And no one from Sydney would have expected a player to be so late to training that he's been left out. Aliir, that's extremely disappointing for the Swans.
It is very disappointing, and it's John Longmire, after a disappointing start of the season, setting the standard. So obviously he felt there was a few issues with Aliir over the last few weeks. He's been in and out of the side, but...
You do get a period of grace, don't you? You get 1 week where you say, you get smacked around the ears, don't do it again. So... who knows?
The ironic thing is the emergency that's come in is his housemate, Harry Marsh. So I'm not sure whether Harry snuck past the bedroom and didn't wake him up, but he's got a game on the back of it.
All right, well, a couple of positives for Sydney. Jared McVeigh returns to the lineup, and that does bring some experience. There'll be a question over what he's got left in the tank, but they could certainly do with him. 287
games to his total. That's his total at the moment. So he's very experienced. He's a very good, accurate kick over short distance. Very smart in the back line as well, and you know he's going to make all the right decisions. They've just lacked experience out on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely, and he adds to that experience. See that age comparison. Brisbane Lions, the youngest list in the competition. This is the team they've got out there today, 23.3 years of age average, and see very much loaded in the bottom end, that category 18 to 21. And not too much older are the Sydney Swans. They're very inexperienced.
Close,
so they've got some
on.
good young players, and close onto Sam Reid, and want to be careful there, but he's trying to set the standard very early.
So what is the response going to be to much disappointment from these two sides?
I think we'll see a statement from one side. I think this will be a really hard contest early.
Well, there's first thing that's changed for Sydney. Callum Mills into the middle.
Well, that's the luxury of having McVeigh back in the side.
Naismith returns after 3 weeks out into the ruck.
The Lions straight away are going for a 7-man defence. Louis Taylor is the man who drops back, so they're looking for run and carry out of their back line.
And McStay will start on Lance Franklin.
Martin and Naismith begin the day in the middle of the SCG. The perfect bounce, and they're up and into it. Naismith got the tap. Kennedy, the skipper, trying to lead from the front.
Dangerous tackle, Sydney.
Heavy tackle from Mitch Robinson on Josh Kennedy.
Which wouldn't surprise.
No, it's...
Umpire called it dangerous tackle.
Coach said he'll play much more in the midfield today in the absence of Dane Beams. There's McVeigh, back from that calf injury, and puts it straight on the chest of Lance Franklin.
That's the quality ball that Lance Franklin's been missing over the last few weeks, and this is well and truly in his range.
That's that type of short kick we just spoke about. He's very good with the dab kick to a leading target.
Normally better on the other side, isn't he? But there's the set shot history, which would confirm that. So Franklin comes in to set the tone for the day at the SCG. A minute in, but he's got one already.
You just felt over the last month, he had those, as you said in the pre-game, someone's going down in the middle of the ground. It's been Mitch Robinson. He's been sat on his backside by Jared McVeigh, and there's a little bit of happening off the ball. But here's the free kick. Mitch Robinson, heavy tackle on Josh Kennedy. I think there'll be no issues there.
That's not a dangerous tackle.
No, that's a solid tackle. That's not dangerous at all.
Perfectly applied tackle that put his hip into the ground first.
There's the quality ball. Jared McVeigh just laced out the superstar full forward for their first goal.
going to be a point of discussion, I think, the dangerous tackles that are being called now.
Well, if you get the hip onto the ground first of the player being tackled, it can't be deemed dangerous. Having said that, it's Umpire Appreciation Week, and we reckon they're doing a wonderful job, which they are, and especially at junior and grassroots levels. We need all the umpires participating that we can muster.
Just in that first play, boys, that's crucial for Sydney Swans, their leaders. Kennedy, McVeigh, Franklin, all contributing to that goal.
Brisbane haven't had a touch yet in this game, and another free kick picked out, and it's going to Big Naismith, and a little dab pass.
That's two really short possessions close to a slow play out of the centre that they've had.
Heaney, important player, back for the last couple of weeks. Kicks it into the pocket, Cunningham, and the ball over him. But Sydney got the fast start a fortnight ago against the Giants and racked up 4 goals before GWS had basically touched the ball.
So Robinson's spent so much time as a forward this year so far, but he's got the job straight into the middle today. So they probably believe that the Swannies are going to come out with a bit of fire, and they're going to try and match it straight up.
Zorko in the thick of things, and the ball goes over the line and out of bounds.
And Barrett on the right of screen.
Zorko in the top 5 in the AFL for metres gained.
Tommy Rockcliffe
having an excellent season, although he was quelled a little last week. Just the 19 disposals. Now Heaney looking dangerous. Back to the square. Harris Andrews got to be strong here. Sinclair made the contest.
That's the danger. If that ball lands on the chalk, Sinclair gets a second crack at that off the deck. You just almost, when you feel that pressure, Harris Andrews, you're almost obligated to fist it through.
So they're going to have their first meaningful possession here, Brisbane. Zorko trying to control things. Finds Rockcliffe. He too was a little quieter last week, been racking up some very impressive numbers. 23 disposals and 4 clearances. They had a lot of the footy last week, Brisbane Lynchy, but they just, most of it was uncontested and didn't amount to much.
And yeah, didn't get the metres on it, didn't get forward.
And they've come unstuck here a little.
Certainly the start that Sydney wanted. The 2 scoring shots before Brisbane basically touched the ball.
And Naismith brings it down to his feet. Just poked forward by Paparone. He returns to their lineup today after coming into the year with a pre-season injury. It's taken some time. Mills worked through halfback through Parker and then Hanbury. Question mark over the fitness of Dan Hanbury. Ball squeezing out, lovely spin from Hayward, but he had nowhere to go. Lloyd backing up. In the end, overwhelmed by numbers, Hayward coughed it up. This is Hipwood. Oh, he gets crunched by Papley, and there's a great sign for the Swans, and that's paid as deliberate.
Yeah, he turned his body a half rotation to end up be facing the boundary line and got it directly over on the full. That's a free kick.
Hanbury.
Josh Kennedy's getting plenty of support from the attention of Robinson. His teammates are helping him out and blocking Robinson every chance they get.
Zach Jones has been one of their best players this year. He's continued to develop strongly. And Lloyd's their leading disposal winner. He works this one inside 50. It wasn't perfect, but the result is just fine. And another man back in the team this week, Dean Towers, just played the 1 game. It was round 1, and he didn't have a great start to the year. He's had to fight his way back with a couple of dominant performances in the NEAFL.
So it's their 4th inside 50 is Sydney. Brisbane yet to go in.
So here's Towers to shoot for goal from the pocket, used as that left goal post superbly as a guide, and the Swans look sharp.
Let's go back to this deliberate. So he's looked up the field, turns 90 degrees and handballs directly over the boundary line. That's a free kick.
Yeah. And that's a good example of where things have changed. In the old times, if you're under pressure, you could do that. But
yeah.
Not anymore.
His intention was certainly to get it over the line. And nice lead from Towers. Just got away from his direct opponent. Nice lead.
And even though Dean Towers is not an experienced player in terms of games played, he is a more experienced body, isn't he, at 27 years of age?
Came through the draft, and his drafting scouting is elite for pace off the mark, spring and agility.
Brisbane need to get it in there and do something. Shackey couldn't handle it. Taylor showed him how. Flicked it out in hope more than anything. Quickly crowded out though, and the Swans look right on their game. Hewitt gave it to Mills. Driving ball half forward. Sinclair too tall. Takes the mark, turns, wants to move it. Wants to. Waiting for Reid, but in the end it was one of the midfielders pushing into the 50. It was Cunningham. He just couldn't gobble it up. Clay Beams and Rockcliffe. Gardner, a stumble, but not a fall. And the kick to Harwood is okay. And from the shadows, he had to just release, or he was Gonski's. And now it's Rich who kicks it to the wing, and it wasn't a very good strike at all. I wasn't trying to get into the education debate there, Durham, the Gonski report. I thought he was going to be in trouble.
They did everything they possibly could to turn the ball over. Brisbane coming out of their back half on that occasion.
A gilt-edged offering too, with Sinclair not hitting that target inside 50.
Cluggage coming through. He was going to play holding the man for a moment. He seemed to change with the decision, but free kick there. Now McCluggage still coming to terms with the pace of AFL footy. Jones heads to Reid. Even though he's not at his best, it's great to see he's having the continuity. He's had a couple of good games this year, Sam Reid. He wouldn't like the fact that that one got smothered. Parker got down and dirty, as you would expect. Lions need to use their numbers to advantage here. Barrett shoveled it out, and the kick along the boundary line from Gardner ends up in a neutral position. We'll have a throw-in.
Great desperation from Luke Parker. He's been one of the core midfielders for the Sydney Swans that probably hasn't played at his very best, been down on his usual lofty standards. So great smother, great work.
And again, just a case of getting it forward from Paparone. Malikan on guard back there, is impressed so far. It was a good move there from Shackey. Just couldn't quite find his man. And another youngster, Jared Berry, his teammate from North Ballarat days. Quite good last week, 16 disposals, 7 tackles. He's certainly shown a bit as well. He's in his 5th game today.
Yep. He's looked good in his first year for a recent draftee.
And we heard Chris Fagan say he's going to get more of an opportunity through the midfield as well today, in the absence of Dane Beams. Zach Jones gives him so much dash. He's got great belief. Look at the way he runs out of that contest and drives for Franklin. Beautifully positioned. Buddy from one side, now Buddy from the other. Oh, no.
You just saw then with Zach Jones, that's 2 weeks in a row we've seen. I mean, McCluggage holds him there. Coming up here, got hold of him and can't hang on to him. That's the difference between a first-year player and a bloke who's got 7 or 8 pre-seasons under his belt. It happened last week with Alex Silvani, no, the Sauce's boy, Silvani. Jack Silvani ran into him, and the different size in body shows what experience and a bigger, older specimen can do.
And just with that, with Franklin as well, McStay, he's got to take his back position on Franklin and try to push him up the ground a little bit more. You allow all that space out there back to Franklin, and he's going to tear you to shreds.
Yeah, spot on, Brian, but that's the difference because Zach Jones broke the pack, ran 15 metres. He could get the ball over the top of McStay, so he was out of position.
Brian, you're one of the backmen who's always done really well on Franklin. Is that the way to play him, from behind and accept that he's so quick on the lead-up?
Yeah, definitely. And that's, you got to have a reliance on your midfield to have some really good pressure. So you're not allowing guys like a Zach Jones coming out the front door like that. But what McStay needed to do is apply physical pressure. Don't allow Franklin to get behind him there. He's got to be a little bit tougher in the contest.
Stephen Martin carrying a big load today, but he can be a real weapon for them. Good work from Sinclair, get involved. Florent, who started so impressively, he's had a couple of weeks back in the needful. It's close to the line. Papley fighting hard for the Swans. Hewitt, Florent again. And this time they're on guard with Clay Beams.
Just haven't been clean when they've come out of their defensive 50, Brisbane. They've just struggled to hit targets and continue to play on. This is a better opportunity.
Let's see if they can show the composure and the skills required. Rich didn't hit it as he would have liked. Had a little bit of margin for error, but that works out well for Martin. It just took a bit longer than they would have liked. So Taylor, they need to adapt and hit targets along the line. Rockcliffe pushing forward. Hipwood's back in the square.
Shackey's got a good matchup.
Shackey's coming. He only just got there, though. That was the problem. McCluggage works it out, and Marsh happy to usher it over this time.
Yeah, he had the run up and the fly over the top there, Lawrence Shackey. Just couldn't get to the contest, as you called, Anthony, just quick enough so he could launch at it.
Absolutely beautiful day for football at the SCG. Martin and Sinclair. Sinclair the tap, misses Hewitt and goes to Zorko, looking to wind his way through Paparone. And that's going
so well done by Zorko. So many players would run boundary, just turn and hightail it to the boundary and try and hook it back. He actually kept facing to the inside and weaved through the traffic, ended up having to handball away, but keeps the ball dangerous, keeps it alive.
Sinclair, both hands to it. Towers, now Parker. And they've worked an open forward line again. Oh, just releasing Papley was Cunningham, and then he ran into trouble, constricted Hewitt. They tried not to cough it up.
Cunningham saw out of that.
Yeah, hit hard by Harwood.
I reckon the shoulder went into the chin or the sternum or the... But he saw out of that.
And the free kick going to Hugh McCluggage, who quickly spots Paparone. Didn't really take any other options into consideration. So Paparone along to full forward. Shackey again in the prime spot. Sun might have been a factor. Malik and Zorko got 4 swans around him. And the numbers are worked effectively in the end. Lloyd, and here's Jones, invited to run again. This time he uses his foot, though. Drives to Papley, he's providing a path forward. Haven't got a lot on offer along the Swans. Lloyd happy to put his faith in Hanbury. It's a duel, 40 metres out from goal. Gardner trying to hold him at bay. This will test Hanbury's run. His determination can't be faltered. Into the square, Hayward, he knows his way around the forward line. And he finishes off with class.
He's been one of the real positives, Will Hayward. Good build-up, but he had enough composure to get around his opponent and just snap very nicely.
The word composure, let's have a look at Cunningham here. Watch the shoulder. Yeah, gets him in the jaw. A little bit of a jump. He does go for the tackle, but watch the right shoulder into the side of the jaw. Now, the thing with Hayward here is that in that shadow of that stand, I always noticed it gets kind of wet and he slips, but he regathers himself. So we look at Hayward here, little slip, and it's too many people would rush that kick right then and there. But he says, no, I'm going to balance up again, accept that I'm a target. If I hold it for a second longer, kicks the goal.
Been a shining light, just 18 years of age, Will Hayward in his first season. Now the Lions need to respond. Shackey all at sea there under physical pressure from Malik, and Marsh can stream away. Didn't quite have the right connection with Jones. And Hipwood there to meet and really challenge Jones. Hanbury tries to help them out of a jam. But the Lions maybe have got an opportunity. Grundy standing in their way. Barrett, you know he's going to wrap him up straight away, which he does. Grundy looked a bit... He got that blow a couple of weeks ago against the Giants, and last week he looked like he was still feeling it a bit at the MCG.
Copped a knock, I think, when Shackey jumped at the ball in this near forward pocket. Copped a bit of a knock in that contest as well.
No, he didn't.
Aggressive play over the top from Berry.
Boys, Cunningham just going past me now. He's going down the race. The issue is the right shoulder. As you see with that contest, he just really jarred that shoulder up a fair bit there. So going down, no doubt probably getting that checked and maybe a little bit of an ejection in there.
Thanks, Brian. Mays runs straight into Hanbury. Already 5 disposals for Dan Hanbury.
Didn't look like a major issue with the shoulder. Maybe he's got an old injury that was just freshened up by a solid contact. So,
well, definitely the shoulder went into the side of the head. So whether that might have just put a rick in the neck and give him a little bit of shooting pain down that neck and shoulder area.
Well, they find a way to get it to Zorko. And now into a more dangerous position as the kick goes into full forward. At the back, Leicester. And the Lions hit the board at last.
that was good work from Leicester, just running into that contest. It was a 2-on-1 situation with Eric Hipwood. Ball got over the back and Leicester was quick enough to react. And so this is a kick to a dangerous position. Good kick in from Ben Keys, but that's a very good little snap, a very important snap early in the game. You just felt it was starting to get a little bit ugly. Brisbane was struggling to hold the ball in their forward 50, so to convert an opportunity was a massive bonus.
Good run on goal there from Ryan Lesser. I don't know if Horse Longmire will be all that happy with Zach Jones' effort to cover there at the back of the pack. He's trailed in spectating until the last moment when he realised he was in a bit of trouble.
Naismith won the tap and it got them started. Towers trying to make the most of his opportunities, waiting hard the other way against the flow. It was Harris Andrews. There's Keys. Had nowhere to go at all. Rich bubbles along. Hewitt, made dude, kicks inside 50. Could have been a free kick to Hayward. He's going to take the advantage. And he had the shot. And Buddy was waiting in the square too.
Buddy is glaring at him as well.
He just rushed that one. And a good pressure from the pressing defender from the Brisbane Lions, probably Dan McStay.
See, we're at one, just a little bit after 1 o'clock, and that whole full forward area is in shade. That's going to be a free kick. So it gets really soft out there, and your stops or your cleats tend to tear through the turf up there. It's hard to keep your footing up there.
Buddy hard to ignore. Had the wings spread out completely. Demanding the ball, and he shares it around. Gets the pass safely inside 50. And he's really pleased, I'm sure, Buddy, that since Tom Papley's come back into the team, because they needed that small, nuggety forward, didn't they? Putting the pressure on and sneaking in for shots at goal as well.
There's a handy inclusion. Good, strong lead. 45-metre lead from Buddy Franklin. Was open. Had Daniel Rich as the matchup, so there was a handover. So they had the mismatch. Always going to be hard to stop.
2 goals, 2 last week and 16 disposals, Tom Papley.
He was all right as well.
And that was almost, but not quite. So the Swans not exactly capitalising on their dominance. 3 goals, 4.
And Papley leading the way with the disposals. He's on 6 for Sydney, along with Hewitt. And Paparone half a dozen for the Brisbane Lions as Mitch Robinson limps from the ground.
Rich kicked in, but once they've turned it over, it spells danger. The Swans lining up. Heaney, Mills, they shovel it around. This is Kennedy, all the way back to McVeigh. Last touch into the 50. It favoured Rich. Franklin was there just in case.
And already down one midfielder in Dane Beams. As we heard pre-game from Chris Fagan, Mitch Robinson's going to spend much more time in the midfield, and he looks like he's got that run with role with Josh Kennedy, but taking that right boot off, so that's a huge concern for Brisbane.
Sinclair, who had 11 contested possessions himself last week, puts it out. Florent senses an opportunity. He's got Hayward there with him. McCluggage going hard the other way. Kennedy straight into the grips. And now Taylor didn't like the first way out of there. Robertson close. Not sure that was actually meant for Taylor, but he'll take it anyway. Back along that last line. Harris Andrews is committed now. Parker with a lunging effort to spoil. Tough for Zorko. The height disparity was significant, and the mark taken by the late inclusion. Harry Marsh.
This is going to be desperately tough for the Lions to score here in this quarter.
They've dropped back.
Well, they've got the one off the deck.
Oh, they won't be happy with that either.
So what we're seeing here at the moment is the push-up that, you know, just wanting to hang in the game so much. The squash of Lions players up into the Sydney forward line. Your 2 main avenues to goal, Hipwood and Shaki, are part of that press-up. I don't think they're great endurance athletes, at least not yet, Alistair. So to out-sprint their opponents going back the other way, I don't know if they're capable of doing that or even getting to dangerous spots.
Well, Hipwood will out-sprint them.
Kennedy's first kick of the game is a goal. And Sydney's lead extends to 22 points.
But the question is their endurance to repeat sprint. I don't know if they can do that in the back half of a quarter.
Not with just a couple of pre-seasons under their belt. And that's disappointing from a Brisbane defensive point of view. Really good from Sydney point of view. They're starting to hit targets in their forward half. That's their second uncontested grab, 30 metres out from goal. 35-metre pass. Kennedy, plenty of space to take an easy mark. And they're just starting to wind up now. They've 8 scoring shots to just the 1. He's a superstar, Josh Kennedy, captain of the Swans this year. Hasn't been able to sing the song as skipper just yet.
No.
They've got a good start, well on the way.
His average disposals down slightly from 31 to 27, as this man as well, Parker, he's down from 27 to 23, but they look in tune today. The Sydney Guns. Now races on. Zach Jones is happy to be involved in any sort of chase for the ball. Has time to really assess and then decides that he'll get an inch closer himself. And look at that. It's beautifully delivered on a platter for Hayward. Terrific play by Zach Jones.
And once again, putting the ball under his wing.
Heaney's just been able to sneak into the goal square.
And yet another uncontested grab in your forward 50. But Zach Jones's ability to put the ball under his arm and separate.
Yep.
I mean, he's running 15, 20 metres flat out and getting into space and then hitting the target moving forward.
No, one step,
So
one
Isaac
step.
Heaney, as I mentioned a couple of weeks back, 26 disposals and a goal last week. And he salutes here for the Swans.
21 years old, his birthday a couple of days ago. Isaac Heaney had a sluggish start to the season, struggling with that glandular fever, but this is what we spoke about earlier. Zach Jones's ability just to take off, make something happen. We saw it with Jared Harbrow last night on the Gold Coast. It really opens up the forward half when you break a line and give plenty of options moving forward, and the forwards are dining out on some quality ball at the moment.
So we're seeing Isaac Heaney and starting to really get the feel for it again. We know he's a talented young player, and they get him and Mills into the midfield, which is, I guess, part of the reason. Would love to have kept Tom Mitchell, but they had faith that they had the young talent stock there.
Well, the noise out of Sydney was that they're pretty displeased with themselves about the way they allowed Callum Mills to get knocked around and bullied last week.
Here's Malikan playing on that last line for the Swans, keeping them out of danger. Finds Heaney at the other end of the ground. Eyes off Jones again. Mills. Ooh.
Gee, that's risky, but
That's
well
precise.
done.
Confidence for you. To Grundy.
Oh, gee, that's equally as good.
And he's hit the target. Dean Towers takes the mark.
Even that kick had to be perfect. You'd say there's a bit of confidence creeping back.
Well, and it's on the back of where they've been poor. Contested ball, they're +8 in contested ball. They've been well down in recent weeks, and that's something over the last few years that Sydney build their game on. Hello.
Sometimes you get a little overconfident. Paparone to hurt them from the turnover. Needed the great bounce, didn't quite get it. Rounding it up, Grundy. Enough to Nick Smith, who can carry it out of defence.
And this is where Brisbane's been really poor defensively. When the ball stays skinny, when I say on the skinny side, they can't defend that. Sydney are able to just work their ball through too easily.
Well, they're out here too, Sydney on the far side.
So what do they need to do, Brian?
Well, they've got to press up a lot more. You can see the defenders, all they're doing is running backwards. You've got to have guys coming at that ball carrier as much as possible. Get a little bit more, initiate a little bit more body contact as well, because they're just allowing a little bit too much space to the Swans.
And Franklin, they're just testing their skills, the Swans, at the moment.
Well, that's
another
what it is.
sizzling pass for Sinclair.
They've just been kicking darts, and it's been kicking and leading practice.
And marks inside 50, 8-0. Sydney's favour, obviously. That is a big number early in the game.
So Sinclair to line up for goal. He's kicked a couple of goals this season in 4 games. Game number 50 for Callum Sinclair, the former Eagle. Joins the list of goal kickers for the Sydney Swans. There's 6 of them.
Great build-up. Their kicking skills off half-back look like they're spot on. Well, mostly, outside the one I went to Paparone for that shot that fell short, but mostly very good. Heaney just nicely weighted kick, and this is as good a kick as you could ever want on the lead. Buddy Franklin on the left, and that's gone no more than 8 feet off the ground and near gone through Callum Sinclair. That's a very, very nice kick and well finished by the big ruckman.
Always satisfying as a ruckman too to push forward and kick a goal.
I'm not willing to slap around Brisbane, though. It just seems like they're not capable at this point in time. They're very young out there, and they just don't have the equipment to match it here at the moment.
Taylor, he crafts the kick, one of their young forwards
He
here.
lost sight of that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an issue for them a few times, hasn't it? Grundy to Jones, puts him under the pump, but his hands get him out of it. Oh, or do they? Zorko to Profit. And that's their second.
That's a rare forward 50 turnover, but nonetheless, that was very good just to turn the ball over on the back of a mistake from one of the most experienced players in Jared McVeigh. You don't see that too often. There's the Hipwood marking attempt that just totally lost it in the sun. And this puts a lot of pressure on the ball carrier. The Grundy kick went short, and then the fumble. And Zorko was good enough to slot that one through. Fair to say they needed that one, getting very ugly early. It's been a star, Dane Zorko.
Yes.
He's kicked his first goal of the afternoon. Reconvene in the middle. Naismith versus Big Stefan Martin. There's Naismith with a follow-up. Not quite at Dusty Martin level with the fend off yet, Heaney, but he got the handball away. Rockcliffe outnumbered, and here's Jones again. Impacts the contest with strength.
Lions have put Ryan Lester back as the 7th defender.
Contact, Sydney.
Free kick to Isaac Heaney.
Straight to him, Isaac. Time back on. Stay out, Sam. Play on.
Plenty of instructions being issued.
That's a great kick.
Finds Nick Smith just drifting into attack. Parker is a mid-range option, or Sam Reid, who pops up about 40 metres out.
And that's what I'm talking about. They're 28 marks, 29 marks to 11 now. What it is, you need that frontal pressure. You need to be able to force the opposition to kick over fingers, because they're able to hit the lead-ups too easily here because the person, the ball carrier, has got no pressure. His shoulders out and able to lower his eyes and hit easy targets.
Watched Ryan Lester. I'll talk about him in a second as the 7th defender after this kick.
Which is on its way. And Sam Reid just leaves it hanging.
OK, so what they did, they fanned the ball out to the near side, and Leicester came out this way, trying to look to cut off that kick. This is tough.
Well, the upside was pretty negligible, really, even if it made the kick. And the downside could well be a Sydney goal. Leicester just hacks it out of there. McVeigh well positioned to mark. No whistle, so that was good hassle by Brisbane. They needed it. Taylor, as they try and work their way gradually. Not a lot ahead of the ball, so it's handball, hold, and look for a kicking target. From Robinson, he finds Rockcliffe.
So they had to turn back in because Hipwood didn't have the tank to make it out to this side to offer up as a target.
Now Gardner, he gets the kick onto the chest. Close.
We just heard the audio from the umpire. Naismith has dropped Mitch Robinson with a hip and shoulder off the ball, and he hit the ground very hard.
Stay out, Tom out. Get with him.
Robbo's probably owed a few, fair to say.
But that's from what they let happen to Callum Mills last week. I reckon the Swans have thought, anybody tries anything today, we get them. We just put it in the bank and we go and get them. No one does that to us ever again.
Close. And it is, but not far enough.
Got to get to that.
Mitch Robinson had 7 free kicks last week, so maybe there's a few more lining him up last week.
Yeah. In that area, there was Martin, Hipwood and Shackey. No one made a contest. No.
Taylor angles the pass in. A bit heavy for Leicester. Back up from Rich, but it's got through the cracks to Sinclair. Now, Buddy, can he go for one of his trademark runs? He's going to go for an absolute monster. Call it 80 metres, Bud. You need the bounce, the goal. He's done it again, Buddy. That's about as long as you can get.
How good was that? That must have been 80. You want to go back? We'll go back 5 seconds to the middle of the ground.
Yeah, celebrate the Franklin goal, but I'm a rap for Daniel Rich. That is the worst piece of play I've ever seen him commit to. He beelines it here, and now he goes, oh no, he's too big.
He was on the tram tracks.
He just decided, I'm running off the ball here. Now, I'm a rap for Daniel Rich, but that you can't let him stay out there for that. You've got to take him to the bench, and the coach has to talk to him. You're a leader. You've got to do better than that. Well, let's move on to the Franklin goal.
Leaders, how good was that?
It's just superb.
Talk about players putting the ball under their arm and taking off. Knew he was running out of time, so had to kick it from 80.
Martin reaches over. Franklin's got 2. Rich and Leicester across half back.
Thank you.
Safe enough this time for the Lions as they try and see out the last 10 seconds. Barrett back into the team today. Former Giant, back for Rich. And the siren about to sound to end the opening term, which has been all Sydney. The good news is their superstars are up and running and they're going to put on a show today. Buddy's kicked 2. And he could be headed for a big bag. It's a perfect day for footy. Big day of sport in the area with the A-League final later on. Sydney in charge of this one at the moment. Lead by 35 points, 7-5-47 to 2 straight 12. Well, Buddy Franklin's just warming up at this stage. A couple of goals in the first quarter. And there's a lot of excitement amongst the Sydney Swans. 7-5-47. No wins so far this year, but what a start. And they've restricted Brisbane to a couple of first quarter goals. The boys that are out there are certainly enjoying themselves. Chris Fagan's got a lot of work to do. There's your score at quarter time. It's a Sydney lead by 35 points.
Well, they only look damaging when the ball's in the hands of in the hands of Dane Zorko. He's the one who's given them a little bit of zip, as to be expected, and his knowledge around the packs. But Sydney Swans, normally they're the team that likes to win a hard fight. Lynchy, kick it down the line, win it again the same way, and try and possess it inside the forward half. But they've gone with accurate foot passing out of the back line and hit up.
Some of the injured Sydney Swans. We'll be having a chat with Gary Rowan at halftime, so looking forward to having a chat with him after that big injury last week.
Let's get to Brian Lake.
Dane, the coach, very animated at that quarter-time break. What was his message?
Oh, we just got to start winning the contested ball. Sydney really come out like we knew they would, and we kind of got on the back foot a little bit. So we've got to put our best foot forward in the second quarter and get your terms back on our style of game.
No worries, thanks, Dane.
Those Sydney Swans players who are watching on, they'd be filthy, I reckon, right now. They'd love to be out there, wouldn't they?
Well, it's so hard when you're around a footy club that's losing week in, week out, and they've lost the first 6, which is a massive surprise, but their team's up and going today, no doubt about that.
Callum Mills has gone into the middle for the first quarter. Second quarter about to commence, and he's in there again.
Isaac Heaney, another one of the youngsters, 11 disposals in that first term, start on the bench.
All the big forwards from the Sydney Swans too. Ollie Florent on screen. All the big forwards for the Swans are on the move, running at the ball carrier. They're not staying home and saying, stick it up in the air and we'll outmark him. They're coming at the ball carrier.
Second quarter from the SCG. Sunday afternoon footy, and up and at him is Naismith. Mitch Robinson just running past it, trying desperately to get it to Rockcliffe, who was ready and waiting.
And the major issue for Brisbane, they did get the ball inside their forward 50. It wasn't quality inside 50s, but they weren't able to hold it in. They just, the ball was coming out far too quick and rebounding very quickly down to the other end of the ground.
Bit of a scuffle off the ball. Zorko in a tangle with Mills. The two ruckmen too, a little off balance. Cunningham's recovered, which is good news. Kennedy runs straight into Leicester, and that could well have been the correct disposal.
Well, he missed it with his foot.
Yeah, Gardner went crashing to ground. Papley's done the best he could. It's on the 50, as you can see, for the Swans as they pile on in.
And the thing with that Brisbane Lions forward line you've talked about, you've got Close, Shackey, Hipwood, who are all 6'5" plus. And then your small forward is McCluggage in his first year, so he's going to struggle to hold it in. I suppose Ben Keys is still an inexperienced player. He's there as a bit of a pressure player at ground level. That's too easy.
There's no shortage of aggro and feeling in this game. Either is there from both sides.
Spot on what you said before, Dermot. Mitch Robinson's putting a lot of pressure on, and Sydney are standing up to it.
Better play by Daniel Rich the first time. He goes again and just gets completely squashed. Malikan fighting hard for it.
Well, Rich dragged that in. I don't think the umpire saw it.
It's just one of those weird ones. If you're lying on your back, for some reason the umpires tend to give you a little bit more time if you're possessing the ball on the bottom of the pack. That's non-officiating umpire 70 metres away has called that one.
Boys, just as well, Harry Cunningham has come back on the ground since that big hit in that first quarter with a shoulder heavily strapped.
Thanks, Lakey. Not 15 the call, so Heaney had to rush it. Buddy, bit of a standoff. Gardner, can you catch me? No. Left foot kick, beautiful. On the chest of Hanbury, who was about to possibly go back and play on.
Hold that line now. Take him out. That's it. Stay close. Right there.
So now Hanbury on the 45.
15 seconds, guys.
He's battling, which we do understand, with a little bit of groin soreness or OP.
Yeah.
And be interesting to see how he strikes this one. Zorko trying to make him think twice on the mark. That is a three-quarter kick in the end. I'm not sure if by design or just a bit of a misfire.
Pretty sure it wasn't by design. He's flushed that one 45. It hasn't gone far at all, Dan Hanbury.
Zorko marks the conservative kick in. Buddy on the mark.
This is where the two teams are vastly different. Sydney are able to put pressure on and turn it over again.
A little bit of a angst between the two Brisbane players as to whose fault that was. Was it the kick or the marking attempt?
Well, Keys was the lead up, and it needed a little bit of extra length to put into the path of Keys.
So Cunningham.
Looks like most of his teammates very confident he can get the journey.
Spent a bit of time off, as we know, in that first quarter with an injury, so he'd love to come back and kick a nice goal from outside 50. And that is beautifully curved back from Harry Cunningham.
You usually get a fair guide with whether the full forward's interested in leading at all. And Buddy just put the cue on the rack, thought, no point in leading. He's going to have a shot here, and covered the journey well from 50.
Was he reticent? Watch this one again. You see Keys come in from the right. No, it's just in the back of the shot there, just about to creep in. He was the intended target. So go back to just quarter time.
Hanbury into Mitch Robinson. A little bit happening off the ball.
Well, the Swans aren't going to stand for it this week, Derm, are they?
They're not. They've made up their mind, hey, we're not going to put up with this, what Carlton did to us last week. And Brisbane would have come out and thought to themselves, hey, the young Carlton team took it up to them last week. Let's do the same and see if we can get into them. So you've got two groups of men who are both thinking we've got to give it a physical shot other than just playing the game.
And you know, week in, week out, exactly what Mitch Robinson's going to bring.
And you know that John Longmire is not going to be a happy man when he's seen a Norton 6. It's very unfamiliar territory for this club. Zorko trying to thrust them forward. They can work a handball forward through Taylor, but then that comes to an end. Marsh, Parker, they're all getting involved. Jones was just about into his move, but realised he had to hand it off. Grundy's kicked a half forward, a little bit in between, challenging his forwards to come up and take it. Towers and Rich work a few moves, and the ball over the line and out of bounds. And again, there's push and there's shove.
Just on that Robinson thing as well, it's picking your opponents as well. You know you've got the ability to get under Robbo's skin as well, so that's probably why they've targeted him.
He's trying to get to Kennedy, so they're trying to protect their captain, who paddles it for Hewitt. Back to Kennedy, straight into a trap. Harwood hang on for dear life. Hewitt goes in hard. Towers, Zorko wins the day. Beams, thrashes a kick back to the wing. Taylor, well positioned, wanted to move it, had some options, goes for Paparone in the end. So now they can just wade through and wait till the traffic get to the right place. And on the outside, Harris Andrews. Can he do something with the footy? Oh, just a bit heavy for Mitch Robinson. Next in line, Rockcliffe went to ground, and Barrett, and now here's Jones.
Same again.
Now he's got young Florent trying to run to the space. Kick was almost perfect for him. Over the top. Great connection from the Swans. Cunningham's kicked another goal.
And once again, Zach Jones. He's the most influential player on the ground, I think. The way he's going about it, he's had 10 disposals, but again, just taking on the tackler, breaking lines, and
it's his initial
forwards
15 steps, isn't it?
Absolutely. And because he runs and breaks lines, it makes the forwards get into space. They're not sure what's going to happen, but now he can get over the back. And that's when you're in trouble as a defender. If you've taken front position and someone breaks the line, there's a lot of grass behind you and you're left wide open.
Zach Jones broke the play open, and a 5-game veteran, Ollie Florent, showed he's got a very good footballing mind.
And look where the damage is being done. 8 goals from turnovers. So Brisbane are inviting them in at the moment. And the Swans are happy to oblige.
Thanks, Josh. Straight up, guys. Thank you.
The biggest discrepancy is just scoring shots. 15 scoring shots to 2. And the margin's getting out to a big one now, 48 points. But Brisbane have to stop the pace in which Sydney are carrying the ball.
See, Jones was thinking about trying to break away again, but thought better of it. Franklin manhandled well that time by McStay, but then he ran straight into the next issue. And they've got plenty of problems right now, Brisbane. Zorko tries to be creative, but Malikan got physical. Oh, the two Swans crunching into each other. That wasn't ideal for Mills and Grundy. Let's see if the Lions can make do with something that was given to them.
It's mine.
The scrap there was close. I'll have a ball
I'm
up.
tipping our mate Jonathan Brown
Go, hit the meter.
doesn't do too much with the forwards anymore.
No, he's living in Melbourne these days, so
They're not running to the right spots.
they don't seem to be. Yeah, they can't get to the drop of the ball, and again, as we spoke about, the pressure defensively is lacking.
Rockcliffe, Paparone. Close, tries to get a run at it, and he did, but couldn't quite capture it. Well done, Jones and McVeigh. Low, they were closing in on him very quickly. Let's see if they can handball their way out. Good physical stuff from Robertson. Towers, though, with the exit kick.
No, throw it in. Throw it in. No, throw it in.
Gardner's going to think it's his ball. He won't believe it.
Just hear the communication between the umpires.
There's a player in the vicinity. Ruck, thank you, Callum.
That hasn't worked on too many other occasions.
Margin, still 48.
Holding, Brisbane free kick.
Free kick to the Lions. Of course, the crowd weren't going to complain about the non-deliberate out of bounds. Martin.
You.
Close. Good strong grab.
And the last entry at the top of the goal square, he competed in the air, didn't take the mark, but split the pack, got it to the ground, and that's all you can really ask. You're not always going to take those grabs, but make a big, strong contest, split the pack, then you become predictable to your small forwards and give confidence to the ball winners up the ground. That is a really good grab in front of a couple of Swans defenders.
The ball went in fairly flat, so even though the pack seems to be big at the time he got his hands around the footy, really he was the only one who had a chance at marking it.
Just the second mark from the Lions. 3 key tolls up forward, and Close connects well and puts through a valuable goal for Brisbane. So 2 marks for Close, and neither Shaki or Hipwood have been able to take a grab thus far.
Well, he's a hard-working forward. He covers a bit of territory close. He will crush a pack, and threw himself at this contest. Good, strong hands under pressure. And that'll just give a little bit of confidence up the field. Under siege out of the middle of the ground. Sydney's midfield well and truly on top. But one of the rare entries forward in this term. They were able to convert.
He's managed a goal in every game he's played so far. 1, 2 and 1, and now 1 today, Michael Close.
Did really well there. There was young Lewis Melican, and only his 3rd game, was unable to just keep a closer check on him after he ran a tiny little reverse lead then.
Pressure grows in the middle. Dug out by Parker and Hanbury. Hewitt with a release kick into the 50. And good strong positioning by Andrews in front of Reid. Now Lester. Ryan Lester, game number 87. He's only 24 years of age. Gardner with the next kick along the line. Cluggage, quite weak last week, just 7 disposals. Coming in for his 5th so far today, so getting a little bit more of the footy.
That's a good kick.
Yeah, a little bit more adventurous to take on the corridor.
Mays forced to keep going that way. Out to Harwood. And they've taken it from one half back flank to the other half forward. And with the aid of a free kick, they'll get the entry they were after.
Yeah, lucky to get that one. Had to be out in front of Robinson.
Even come across, he's blind to look this side of the ground.
Channels it into the pocket. Shaki got an unexpected pickup. And unfortunately, he couldn't do much with it. That's out of bounds on the foot.
Yeah, he just needed to, when the ball's in the middle of the ground, look back again, reverse the ball back across the field again, and they were in.
So Grundy locked away in the back pocket. Sends Sydney to half back, and pretty easy pickings there for Gardner. Got a run at it. No one to contest with. Lester's drifting down to the square. I wonder if he'll spot him.
Waiting for Hipwood to get back to the goal square.
Yeah, he goes for Hipwood, but it's right deep against the post, so he didn't have much room to manoeuvre.
And that's a poor kick, really, to go that deep against the point post. Just had to pull it 15 metres out, top of the goal square, to a dangerous position.
Martin gets to the front. So many numbers around the ball. Very hard to get a clean possession out of that. Are they just locked in, Lynchy, to having to play the 3 young talls all on the same team every week?
I wouldn't have thought so, but they have a clear development plan, and that'll be players going in and out of the side, maybe even playing in different positions. But yeah, at the moment, just not quite functioning. We've seen some really good positives from Hipwood over the last few weeks, as we see Dan Hanbury just holding his neck.
I would think that at some stage in the next month, one of the two real young ones, Shaki and Hipwood, will need a break.
Yeah.
Rockcliffe, Parker, and the free kick, holding the man. It's going to Tommy Rockcliffe.
That's okay. No, you've got to attempt to get the ball.
And for their own development, is it better to stay and just keep playing as many AFL games, or is...
Not at all. I think there should be a plan in place, I'm sure, but sometimes it is about going back into the twos and getting a bit of the ball in your hand.
Yep.
Playing in a different position.
So Rockcliffe for a couple of goals in a row. Oh, didn't like the look of it, but it might just creep over the line with the wrong side.
The thing with that is, if you're playing as a key forward here today for the Lions, if this game keeps continuing this trend, you're probably only going to get 4 looks at it in terms of a key forward role.
Reid comes up to take it, posted up well, off to Hanbury, misfires the chip kick into the middle, and now Beams. So Brisbane have just got to find a way. They've kicked a goal, and they've got to find the way of putting some doubt back into Sydney. His confidence must still be a little shallow.
Well, they've still been able to block up their transfer from deep defence, Sydney, and cause a couple of turnovers, so that is a positive. And in a game like this, they'll be looking for small positives. Another dangerous tackle.
Against Beams that time. Parker goes for the height that was on offer, but Naismith had to wait. And that allowed a bit of a run and jump opportunity for the Brisbane defence.
Just on your point, Derm, as well, what I think Brisbane need to do is hold their forward 6 back a little bit more. They try to squeeze up and try to compress the stoppage as much as possible, but these young forwards need to work on their craft in the forward line. So hold your forward 6 back.
Yeah.
Florent, Parker, Cunningham, all getting a piece of it. Andrews with the prominent fist. Here's Keys. Had a good game last week. Oh, Harris Andrews, high fin. And Hayward will have a shot for goal, you would suspect, from there.
The 202-centimetre Harris Andrews. Defend into, I think, is Will Hayward down there.
So I agree with Lakey on that one while we wait for Hayward to line this up, because as a key forward, all these boys are doing today, predominantly 99% of their game today will be drill running up to the back line and running back into the forward line. They don't get a chance to really work on what it is to be a key forward and how to beat your opponent.
Hayward settled over that one. Unfortunately, the result not as he would have liked.
So if you're taking pain, you may as well take the full amount and try and learn. Yeah,
That's a short right to the chin with an open hand.
Gardner gives it plenty. Paparone. Rich gave it something. Not quite sure what it was. Deemed as a handball. Robinson, the up and under to half forward. Has to wait a while for it to get their keys, but turns smartly on the left and then straight into the smothering Naismith. Again, they come unstuck at the key position. Opportunity, Berry. Not going to have it for long, though. Smith was hunting. Martin for Taylor. Wants to get it on the left. And now he does. Has he got enough to get it back to the goals? He hasn't. Shaki comes out with a couple of swans, and he's got a free.
Well, that's a fortunate one for Josh Shaki. Might have got a grab of the arm. Struggled to work his way into the game so far.
Thank you. 15 seconds. Stay the line, please.
So Shaki, a rare opportunity to shoot for goal for the Brisbane Lions. Made a good fist of it.
Yeah.
And that is a fine goal from Josh Shaki.
And those little wins like that, might have been a bit of a soft free kick. Got the free kick, but to kick a goal, just get a bit of a tick in the right box on the scoreboard. Here's the holding free kick. Just a little grab of the arm. I think
turns him.
Yeah, I think in the same at the same time, Josh Shaki would be a bit disappointed he didn't make a bigger, better contest. But this is a nice finish. Beautiful finish. The number 2 draft pick.
That free kick's there, though. Lynchy and I are in heated disagreement here. He doesn't think it was a free kick. I do. That's dangerous. If you turn a bloke while he's jumping, I reckon that's really dangerous. More so than the dump tackle. Two dump tackles we've seen penalised.
Hanbury out of the middle. Swans need to respond here. Brisbane have kicked a couple of goals, trying to wrest some control back into Buddy Franklin. And that's the quick way and the smart way to respond. Give it to Bud. Third goal for Franklin. And Sydney's 7-goal lead restored at the SCG.
Didn't take long at all. It's Bud's 7th disposal.
He's the only Swanee without a handball.
Doesn't often happen, but nice. Just a few seconds after Brisbane has scored, there's around the body. How often do we see that from Buddy Franklin? Knows where the goals are. Great finish. Solid start to the season, the first 2 weeks with those couple of small bags of 4. He looks like he's a bit more confident today, looking for a big day.
Naismith worked out where it was going. As it turned out, it's going out to the wing. And then a foot race will suit Zach Jones just fine. Got it under his command now. Paparone refusing to yield, and he forces the error. Mays takes the mark. Quiet day for Sam Mays, just his 3rd disposal.
That's better.
To Keys, who's looking more at home at AFL level now in his 2nd season. Shacky, inch by inch. They are playing better football this quarter. Oh, that might be 50.
Yeah.
That'll go to the goal line. He's going to be directly in front because that'll take him inside the square.
Well, Brisbane don't want to give this away here. They've got
Trying to
50.
stand their ground, but
Yeah, they do want to get the goal. But if you're a young team, and this is where differing your opinions, he'd been punched in the head in a marking contest where he didn't have to be punched.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it if a young team, the older blokes, the hard nuts come in and have a go, and even if it turns horrible for them, they fly the flag.
Perry puts it through.
You have to show young teammates that we're going to protect you.
Yeah, a little off the shoulder number there for Zach Jones.
Here it is, the late contact.
Yeah. Well, that's a first-year player, Jared Berry. Copped one from a second, third-year player. Yeah, well, he's got it right on the snout.
There's enough in that.
Yeah.
I understand flying the flag, but at the same time, you've got a young, maturing side that needs to kick a goal.
Yeah.
Fly the flag, don't do anything stupid, don't give the goal away.
But you've got to get that. You've got to come in and show that that is not going to happen on your day.
Is it similar to Toby Green's, that one, or a little different?
No, it's not as late as Toby's, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, Toby got hung a little bit by previous weeks. There's not that much difference, but you know Callum Mills is not going to get weeks. So I'm sounding like a grumpy old man.
You blokes all right?
Here.
We don't agree with each other at all today.
Well, that's why you have several in the coaching box.
But no, I don't think it was as late. He'll be fine. 50 metre was spot on.
He punched him in the head, Lynchy.
3 of the last 4 goals. Hanbury versus Rockcliffe in the clinches. Brisbane looking for some mini wins and trying to turn that into something here. The margin stands at 36 right now. 7 minutes to go in this first half. If they could maybe snatch another goal or two's advantage, put some doubts in the Swans' mind. Hayward misses Hanbury by quite a bit. Or Paparone more a couple of tackles. Goes unwhistled. Robertson. Florin had him in his sides. They crank up the pressure in response. Close. Happy to let that one go out.
Boys, I love my little things here. The trainer just said when Zach Jones had his top ripped off, already on the ground, changed the GPS, gave him a new Guernsey. It's like a Formula 1 Grand Prix pit stop, all done in 25 seconds.
I'm glad Lakey's excited about that down to the ground.
Lakey will try and get that jumper and stitch it back together.
Paparone as they sweep off half back. Rich, is it going to get over Parker? It does. McCluggage.
He's got to take that one to the middle. Too slow.
Back to Rich. And then back further to Harris Andrews. An uncomfortable moment. Got a little more sticky. But he's going to stroll in for his 4th. Calamity for the Lions, but Buddy's got 4.
And that was evidence of a young team that's under an enormous amount of pressure in the season, and certainly today didn't pull the trigger on the first option.
Yep.
And then the pressure built. Should have gone early.
Yeah, that one off the point of the square.
Then Rich was under pressure, missed the target, turnover. And Bud blinkers on, understandably, and his pace was always going to be tough to stop.
He wasn't too concerned about the pursuing player, was he?
No.
What number is he going to get to today, Bud? He's got 4.
What do you think, Anthony?
And we're not at half-time yet, Dern.
Oh, well done by Daniel Rich too, the senior player in the area. He ran to Harris Andrews and put his arm around him because the Swannies came in and tried to rough him up and say, well done, Dork, you know, but he got to him and said, that's all right, mate. You made an error. We're behind you. Well, that's what you're meant to do, take the confidence out of the opposition, Lynchy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Parker turns quickly. Sinclair in prime position to mark this one, but Harris Andrews.
And he rewards. He comes back with the fly to the ball then, and he rewards the rest of his team by knocking that one through for a bit rush behind.
Yeah, good quality young defender is Harris Andrews. Good spoil on that occasion.
Daniel Rich.
Not too many options. Can go long.
7th disposal. He does go long and straight, which has all sorts of elements of danger if it doesn't come off. Rockcliffe, and that wasn't ever going anywhere. Naismith winding through. He's just kicked it a little strong for Heaney, but there's so many Swans backing up. Oh, they've dodged one there.
Just held on a bit long, did Buddy Franklin.
He's got a scent of blood here at the moment, Buddy. I think he's thinking the way you were thinking a few seconds ago, Hutto. He might be thinking phone book numbers here today.
Yeah.
Stay after Rockcliffe.
The nostrils are flared, in for a big one.
It's getting a little harder to find a way out now for Paparone. So driving ball, kept it pretty low. You can see what he had in mind. I think it was Keys, but close, came through just at the right time. Now Zorko got it from Rockcliffe. Try to return the favour, but it gets more difficult as they start to swing it from the wing. Hanbury punched the handball out with purpose. Paparone, though, able to go hard the other way. And it's a bit of rather than kick the kick, it's handball to handball here on the wing. Kennedy gets shut down and throws it. And now Taylor crafting a kick wide. They're pushing forward. Barrett sends Leicester on a path to goal. And the kick from Leicester was nowhere near the open sticks.
No, nowhere near it. They just haven't been able to capitalise when they do get their opportunities in the forward half, just to hit quality targets. Close has worked hard. He's presented up at the ball carrier on numerous occasions, made a good contest, taken a couple of grabs.
A couple of contested marks.
Yep.
Which is always good to see. Kennedy, Rockcliffe, oh, dubious. And that is a throw.
The tackling's been pretty good in the last few minutes. That, when you said it was handball to handball, that was because Brisbane matched the Swans for the last 3-4 minutes with their tackling. I think they've actually stepped up to the plate here, the Lions, in terms of their tackling over the last 3 or 4 minutes.
There's a look at it.
15 seconds go.
Rockcliffe has laid 5 tackles. In possession 14. He's missed 1 shot for goal. He probably should have made. Needs to get this one online. And that will be okay for Tom Rockcliffe. 6 goals for Brisbane.
And when you are a young bottom developing team, it is so important that that the older, more experienced players actually stand up. And certainly Tom Rockcliffe's had a good season so far. He's led the way, certainly missing his partner in crime in Dane Beams through the middle of the ground. So their most experienced and best area on the field is their midfield, and here's their best players, as we see with the numbers. Rockcliffe, Stephen Martin, Zorko's had another very good year, down to Daniel Rich, Mitchell Robinson. And the skipper, Dane Beams, who's out this week with that quad strain.
They're the experienced players, aren't they? They rely on so heavily.
Yep.
That's their, in order of merit, ranking points, that's their 6 best players, and they're the oldest players as well.
Ball squirts out for Paparone. So it's been a much better quarter. They've kicked 4 goals each, both Brisbane and Sydney. And Berry starting to feel more comfortable. Long kick, Hipwood in the frame, and should have marked it after doing all the hard work. Now McVeigh.
He insulted Hipwood the way he pushed him over the line there.
Towers challenged by Rich illegally, the umpire says. Free kick is going Sydney's way. Sinclair pokes it into the middle. Florent.
The far side's open.
Hewitt was waiting, ready to spring into action. Cunningham. Heaney's deep. He's going to Lloyd first.
Oh, well.
And Franklin takes the mark.
Some great movement forward of the ball, and even Sam Reid, that you wouldn't have seen on camera, just didn't lead up into the space. Allowed Cunningham, Lloyd to get involved, and in the end, Franklin into that space. So good work from Reid to hold back.
And this is for number 5 for Buddy Franklin before half-time. It's a bit right, isn't it? And not coming back from there. So a couple of goals and a point in each of the quarters so far for Buddy. Brisbane outscored by 3 points in this quarter. Harwood keeping it close. Finds Paparone.
They're well set up by Sydney just to block the exits.
Andrews. Gonna need skills or high ambition to get out of here. Jones was right on the job with the spoil. Cluggage goes back in again. Beaten for the desperation though by Towers. And now Reid for Jones. Buddy still wants it. He gives it to him. Hands it off. 5-5, yes! High five!
Yeah, and as we was talking about, the defensive pressure from Sydney forced Harris Andrews to go to a short in the corridor. So it was a 25-metre pass to a 2-on-1 situation, caused the turnover, and the ball going forward. Bud's just in Zach Jones's ear here. Give us this one. Didn't look like missing that. Around the body. 5 before half-time. He's in for a big one tonight, Bud.
Five marks, 5 goals, 10 disposals for Buddy Franklin. Averages just over 3.5 goals a game against Brisbane. He's already beaten that today. McVeigh squirts it out to half forward. Heaney with the trap and the turn. And then just over Towers' head. Buddy's back in the goal square. Leicester, they can get it short. He's still on offer for them.
Numbers everywhere.
Numbers everywhere. Jones, he's laid one off. He wants one for himself. Maybe wanted it a bit too much.
They're just outworking Brisbane at the moment, getting more numbers to each contest. And that was a prime example of a 3-on-1 situation.
I've been tracking Franklin for the last 7 or 8 minutes. Daniel McStone must be thinking, I've never seen a key forward run this hard. He's done midfield numbers in the last 90 seconds.
He's not your stock standard key forward.
He's not your stock standard anything, I don't think. No. Is he, Buddy? He's unique. And what a player he's been for the game. So Mitch Robinson at halfback. Kick goes to half forward. Close. Too far out to score. Gives Zorko the opportunity to fly. Decided to stay down. And Melican. Now, has he done enough to keep that in?
No way can that be deliberate.
Okay, tackled as you kicked it. No way it can be deliberate, but that's how it's deemed by the umpire. We're down to the last minute. Martin tried to hand it off. Parker, interesting kick. Leicester just flings it back to Mays. The hands are needed. Leicester, and they release Mays. Now, he might think about it. No.
Wow.
If he did not get anywhere near the connection. The bounce suits Martin. There's Lloyd. Has been a huge ball winner for them this year. Melican on the outside. No, Paparone to shut it down. Back to Andrews. Rich is lurking. They'll give it to him every chance. He is an opportunist if he can get within about 60 to fire away. Hipwood tried with the boot, but desperation was matched and then some by Reggie Grundy. Hipwood has not been able to get into it at all so far today.
He's out of the two. He's looking a little closer to the need of a break, Eric Hipwood. He's just looked a little off the pace and hasn't been able to do the required drill running and then find the ball and be competitive once he's got to the ball. And
over the year, he's been the more impressive of them.
Absolutely, he has. I think he's been a wonderful talent to work with, and he's got enormous upside.
Here's Leicester. Looking to brush off Hewitt. Zorko, handball to the voice.
What's out in the full?
Jones
Been above the knee.
Keep the money, guys.
Another big quarter for Zach Jones. He's had another 8 disposals.
And Rich is just down the line here by himself. Defence.
And the siren sounds. So a better term as far as Brisbane are concerned, but Sydney have extended their advantage. It's now out to 44. And Lance Franklin has 5 goals at half-time and looks set for a massive afternoon. So every reason to stay with us and enjoy the show put on by Buddy Franklin. It's 12-10-82 Sydney, 6-2-38. Long way to go, but the Sydney Swans certainly on target to register their first victory of the season so far. Brisbane far more competitive in that quarter as we get down to Brian Lake.
Jared, really good response from the boys. Impressive first half.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we needed to. It's about time, so it's only half done. We go, get our rest now, and then go again for the next 2 quarters.
Leaders are really standing up as well. Parker, Kennedy, Franklin.
Yeah, they are. Bud's in really good form at the moment now today, and then the boys are really working them over in the middle, which is what we want.
Half a footy for the first time for a while. Body feeling good?
Yeah, I feel great. Just going to get through the next half.
All right, good luck, mate.
Great to have Jared McVeigh back out there, and the Sydney Swans fans certainly enjoying what they've seen so far. Still a big half to come here from the SCG. We're back shortly.